All right. Greetings, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for today's financial aid webinar. This is a partnership between the Educational Opportunity Program and the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office. Thank you so much, Financial Aid and Scholarships Office, for your continued partnership, for being such a supporter of EOP students. We really appreciate you. We will be overviewing the financial aid topics of satisfactory academic progress, verification, and contribution appeals. So if you have questions or concerns about this topic or any of these topics, you're in the right place. And so my name is Marylinda Garcia, she, her, hers. I'm a counselor with the Educational Opportunity Program, and I will hand it off to Nicole.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining. So my name is Nicole Grander, and I'm an Associate Director in the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office. And I'd like to have my coworkers here take a minute and introduce themselves. They're also going to be on the call. Joe?
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is, afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Joe Sell. I'm a counselor in the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office.
Good afternoon. My name is Gabrielle Turner, and I'm a counselor in the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office.
Okay, great. So I think we're gonna just dive right in. So first, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know it's 1 o'clock on a beautiful afternoon, so I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about verification and satisfactory academic progress, and to get information about how to file appeals. So I really just want to acknowledge at the beginning that the time that you're taking to learn about this today, and thank you very much for participating and for joining the call today. So the agenda right here is we're going to go over verification, what is it and why we have verification. We're going to go over satisfactory academic progress policy overview. We call it SAP. So we're going to go SAP policy overview, information about filing an appeal, appeal decisions and what that could mean for you. We're then going to go over expected family contribution appeals, or what we call EFC appeals, and then we're going to wrap it up in questions. We have some frequently asked questions that we're going to go over, and if there's time, hopefully we can arrange some Q&A here in the webinar. So verification, what is it? And you've been selected. You didn't do anything wrong, and I think that that's most important to know. So verification is a process by the Department of Education or the California Student Aid Commission and the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office to confirm the data that was reported on your financial aid application. The most common things that are being requested from families in the verification process, it would be like verification of household size and number in college, so how many people in your household are attending college, signed copies of the 2008 tax returns, and if there are no tax returns filed, we may ask for verification of income, and lastly, verification of assets. So as part of the verification process, no, it can seem that some of these questions may seem invasive, but we're just looking for the context, really to get a pictures of your family's financial situation, so we can ensure an accurate aid package for you. And so every year we're asked to verify a little over 6,000 students, and we have a limited amount of time in order for us to process or work through these verifications on the financial aid and scholarship side. The reason why I say that is timely completion of verification is something that we really try to encourage in order to ensure success. So for example, completing a verification a week before school starts puts you in a challenging situation just because of the numbers that we receive, the numbers that we have to verify. We can sometimes be weeks out, and so you know, timely completion ensures success, because your success is our success. And so we just really encourage that verification documents are completed as soon as possible, because especially if we need to follow up for any additional information. So tasks will appear. So if you've been selected for verification, we will put tasks in Cal Central. And so I just did some screenshots here of what it looks like in Cal Central. This is the main dashboard. So as you can see, verification tasks or any tasks about financial aid are under the finance tasks heading. And so for this particular students, they have 4 incomplete verification or 4 incomplete tasks. One of them would be verification. And so as it's listed below, you can expand on the specific task and there's a link so you can view the task, and then there's a link to financial aid verification. We use something called the Berkeley Forms website, and so we process our verifications on, it's an online process. So students can complete verification forms online, sign verification forms online, upload documents online. So we really have eliminated as much as possible the paper verification process. If you've never signed into the Berkeley Financial Aid Forms website, when you click on the financial aid verification link here in your Cal Student Central, it will take you to the Berkeley Forms website. And if you've never signed into the Berkeley Forms website, you'll be asked first to confirm your identity. Why? It ensures that the personal information that you provided on your aid application matches who you are signing in as. The information, when you just do the initial registration process, it must match exactly to your aid application. So your name needs to be spelled exactly how it was spelled on your aid application and whatnot. So after you verify who you are, verify your identity, you'll be able to log into the Berkeley Forms website from here on out using your CalNet ID. So it's just an authentication process. So again, the Berkeley Forms website is just an online platform for completing verification. It's mobile friendly, so you can complete it on your tablet or your pad. Like I said, you can e-sign the forms. And the website to get to the Berkeley Financial Aid Forms website is the berkeley.verifymyfaso.com. That is for all aid applicants. So it's for the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and also for the California DREAM Act. When you log into the Berkeley Forms website, I just did a couple of shots of what you can expect to see. So if you've been selected for verification, you'll see a task. And here's an example. This is the dependent verification form. If you click view the form, it will take you to an online form, and you'll be asked just to complete information in chunks. So first you'll have to confirm your demographics, and then you'll enter in your household size information, and then information about student taxes, information about parent taxes, and then you review and sign. So we've really tried to make it as easy as possible, and also to ensure completion so that nothing is missed. So when doing verification, be sure to submit signed copies of tax returns if we ask for tax returns. One of the things that can hold you up, or where we would have to ask for additional information, is if we receive a copy of a tax return and it's not signed, it needs to be signed. Respond to requests in a timely way. Generally, if we need information, we'll send out an email. And if you signed up for text notifications, and you can do that through the registration process, we'll send you a text notification too that, hey, we're looking for something else. Also, be sure to log into Cal Central frequently. If you miss the emails, and let's say you didn't sign up for SMS or text notifications, you can see if there's a task missing just again through that dashboard on Cal Central. And check your berkeley.edu email account even during the summer. That's really how we do most of the communications. If we're sending an email, it would be through the Berkeley EDU account, just because that's how we know it's you. You have to authenticate with your CalNet, and so we know that that email is going directly to you. So that's it on verification. I'm going to move into satisfactory academic progress. So What is SAP, or Satisfactory Academic Progress? The Department of Ed says that students can't receive financial aid for an indefinite period of time. So really the goal of receiving financial aid and going to school is degree completion, and that's really what we're looking for. As such, federal regulations require aid offices to monitor SAP, and so that means students must meet specific satisfactory academic requirements in order to maintain eligibility for aid. Keep in mind that financial aid SAP is different than a college or major academic requirements. And that's important to know because, again, financial aid satisfactory academic requirements are specifically related to your ability to receive financial aid. It doesn't impact your ability to continue to be a student at Berkeley and to enroll in classes, but it's just the ability to receive the financial aid that you may need in order to pay for those classes, to pay for attending. So SAP at Berkeley, there are really three main parts to our Berkeley SAP policy. So the first part is we want to make sure students need to be making progress towards their degree by completing a minimum percentage of attempted units. And then there's also a GPA component. There's a minimum cumulative GPA, average GPA, and also completing your degree within a maximum specific amount of attempted units. So that's a lot. So what does that all mean? And we'll break it down in the next few slides. So students are expected, so minimum progress, students are expected to complete at least 67% of all units that they've attempted on a cumulative basis. So that would mean cumulatively while at Berkeley. Repeated courses, which received a passing grade for, courses dropped after the 5th week of instruction at Berkeley, courses attempted in a semester in which you withdrew after the 5th week of instructions, and courses where you may have earned an F, an NP or no pass, or an incomplete are considered attempted but not completed. And so what does that mean? So example, let's say you are enrolled in 15 units, but you passed 12 units. So for 3 units, you got, let's say, an incomplete, and for the remaining 12 units, you passed. So looking at that, just for that term, that you would be considered, your passing rate would be 12 over 15 or 80%. And so that was just a term example, but we measure your minimum progress on a cumulative or the total body of your work while at Berkeley. The 67% completion rate still applies, even if you're approved for a reduced course load by your college or the Disabled Students Program, meaning that this isn't about needing to pass a specific number of units. It's about completing at least 67% of the units that you enroll in. So if you have a lower, if you are attempting a lower unit amount because of a reduced course load, then we would just, SAP would require you to complete 67% of whatever units that you're enrolled in. So GPA requirement, so that just means the cumulative GPA. So for undergraduate students, you're required to maintain a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or above at the end of the annual SAP evaluation period or the academic year, and we'll talk about that in a minute, to remain eligible for financial aid for the subsequent academic year. So 67% of all cumulative units attempted and completed are completed over attempted, and then also the 2.0 GPA. And lastly, the maximum time frame. And so, SAP policy says that you cannot receive financial aid beyond 150% of the published length of your program. Oh, so what does that mean? Well, for an undergraduate student, and the published length of your program at UC Berkeley is 120 units, meaning that after 120 units, provided you've met all your program and degree requirements, you can graduate. So students are only eligible to receive financial aid for up to 180 attempted units. So as you can see, the degree to graduation is about 120 units. So that still gives you a buffer of around 60 units. But any units attempted over 180, including accepted transfer units, are counted in your maximum time frame. So let me just talk a little bit about transfer units. Transfer units, any transfer units that are accepted at Berkeley that you transfer in and that are accepted are considered as attempted and completed, and they do count towards your maximum time frame. So let me give you an example. Let's say you have a body of work at a community college that is 80 units. But Berkeley is only going to accept 70 units to transfer in. So when we talk about maximum time frame, we will look at the 70 units because that's only the units that Berkeley has accepted for acceptable transfer credit. So at the start of Berkeley, you're going to having 70 units towards that 180 attempted units. Also, in terms of completion rate, those 70 units are going to be attempted and completed, so you're at 100% completion rate. So when do we calculate financial aid SAP? So we do an annual calculation of SAP that would be for the fall, spring, and summer. So summer is considered a trailer. We do the initial check of SAP after the spring term grades are posted. So that's when we do the initial check. And the final check is done after the summer grades are posted because we know that we want to make sure that your summer work is taken into consideration when evaluating your entire satisfactory academic progress for that academic year. If you don't meet SAP, your eligibility for financial aid is put on hold until SAP requirements are met, or unless you are allowed to continue on an approved appeal. And so we generally do the initial SAP calculation in June, and then we send out notifications by email. And we also post a task in CalCentral. So again, important to make sure that you're meeting, you're looking at CalCentral. So I'm going to talk a little bit about SAP Appeals. So what happens if fall and spring grades are posted and you've been notified that you're not meeting satisfactory academic progress? Being a student, we know that your life doesn't stop. And there's things that happen within a year, just within your life, that can impact your academic success. So if you're not meeting SAP requirements before the beginning of the academic year, and you have circumstances like life, some things that have happened in your life that have hindered your academic progress, you can submit a SAP appeal to have your financial aid eligibility restored. Preparing your appeal. So a SAP appeal requires a couple things. It requires you to write a statement, a detailed letter, telling us what circumstances prevented you from making SAP or from meeting SAP during that period of time. So the letter should include, really we talk about it as past, present, and future. So what happened? What circumstances prevented you from meeting SAP? How have those circumstances changed? What actions or what is your plan for academic success and degree completion? Because again, this is all about degree completion. And what resources have you sought out to ensure success in future terms? We do have example appeals. So your detailed statement, it doesn't have to be super long, as long as it addresses those 3 points. The circumstances, what's happened, what are you currently doing, and what resources are you seeking out to ensure success in the future? Again, so we have examples on our website. If you need help writing your letter, or if you want to get an idea of how your letter can be arranged. And so then we do ask for documentation. So whatever prevented you from moving forward or being successful and meeting SAP, we do ask for documentation of those circumstances. So your appeal should include documentation, support your written statement, and it would include things like medical appointment documentation, paycheck stubs. For example, let's say you were working too much and you didn't realize that you couldn't balance the work and a heavy course load, paycheck stubs or timesheets that show your work schedule, transcripts. Let's say that you took some time off and you went to community college and you've been successful, and you can document that, the transcripts of any work done while maybe you took some time out. Or letter from an on-campus resources confirming check-in support. So if you've been checking in with EOP or an academic advisor, any supporting documentation that would help, or if they could write any a letter confirming that they've been, meeting with you and that you've been seeking out support from them, that would be considered acceptable documentation for your SAP appeal. Just in terms of the medical appointment documentation, I just want to be clear, we don't need a detailed history of what's going on medically. It's all about the appointment, so we don't need any, diagnosis information. Just, if there's like the Tang Center printout, the statement just saying a listing of when all your medical appointments were, that would be fine. But you don't have to get really too big into details about anything about your medical history or your background. Just basically that you've been, here's to support that I've been seen by medical professionals. So in addition to your detailed statement and your documentation, we also want to ensure that you're being connected to academic advising. So you'll have to meet with your academic advisor or your major advisor, if declared, to create a program plan. And this plan should be reasonable and set you up for future success. So again, what we're looking for and what we hope for you is degree completion. We don't want you to set up a plan that shows that you're going to be enrolled in 16 units up until graduation, when 16 units isn't something that's reasonable for you. If what's reasonable for you is 8 units per term to degree completion, and that's going to set you up for success, that's what should be reflected on your plan. Again, the goal is the completion to degree, not fast completion to degree. We want you to be successful in your college career. So you set up your academic plan with your advisor, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the program plan to monitor your progress. So that plan is really meant to be your roadmap to success. And so we really, you would need to follow that plan in order to meet the conditions of your appeal, because that's what we're going to base your approval, or your approval if you're approved for SAP to move forward. We're gonna be basing it on what was written in your appeal, including your program plan. So this is just an example of an academic plan. It's pretty basic, but write in the terms. So like for fall, upcoming year, it'd be fall 2020. How many major units are required, how many college units are required, and the total units required. And then some advisor notes or comments. Those could be for you, those could be for us in the financial aid office. Really, so this would be the academic plan that we would want you to follow if you're approved for an approved SAP appeal. This is an unusual year, and so we'll take electronic signatures on your academic plan. Your academic plan should be signed at least by your college advisor. If you are declared in your major advisor would also need to sign your appeal. And if you have a reduced course load through DSP, we would also want your DSP advisor to sign your appeal. And the reason why is we just want to make sure that you touch base with all those folks who are resources for you to ensure that you're getting, that you're going to be successful as you move forward. So a backup plan. So preparing your appeal. So submitting an appeal, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to be approved. So if your appeal is not approved, you may need to seek other options and other sources of funding. So this is not meant to stress you out. It's just transparency. If your appeal isn't approved, and that doesn't mean that you can't continue with your education at Berkeley. It just means that we're not going to be able to provide funding for it for you moving forward until you are meeting SAP. You're in good SAP standing. And so having a backup plan is always a good idea. Financial aid SAP is different than college academic progress. So our policies don't align on this. So you could be meeting academic progress with your college, but may not be meeting satisfactory academic progress with financial aid, and vice versa. You be meeting satisfactory academic progress with financial aid, but your college may have different requirements. So keep all those things in mind. Timeliness is important. So we will not consider SAP appeals for a term that is ended. So if you've been selected, if you have to submit a SAP appeal and you wish to receive aid for the fall 2020 term, but you don't turn in the appeal, or the appeal isn't turned in until January, and you're wanting to receive aid for the fall, we won't be able to consider you for aid for that past fall term. So we can't consider SAP appeals for terms that are completed or that are in the past. So the outcome of an appeal. So again, we'll notify you by email if we need additional documentation for you or with the outcome of your appeal. So if your appeal is approved, we have to monitor your progress after each term to ensure you are following your academic plan. So that's where that academic plan is really important. And again, we're looking for successful completion, not fast completion to your degree. So it's really important that you work with those resources, your academic advisor, your DSP, or your major advisor, to set up a plan that's really tailored to your success. And again, if your appeal is not approved, then you're not going to be eligible for federal, state, or institutional aid until you're in good SAP standing again. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't continue at Berkeley. It just means that we're not going to be able to provide you resources to help you with your education for those terms when you're not making SAP. So that being said, take notes of the number of units you must complete each term to maintain your financial aid eligibility. Because those are, again, what we're going to be holding you to, or what we're going to be evaluating at the end of each term. Because if you have an approved SAP, or if you have an approved SAP appeal, at the end of each academic term, we're going to have to review to make sure that you're meeting the terms outlined in your approved appeal. If you have an approved SAP appeal and you're considering a change in your course load, we want you to discuss with your academic plan options with your academic advisors and with the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office before making any adjustments to your schedule. So your academic plan and your SAP appeal will always be visible to you even when it's approved through the Berkeley Financial Aid Forms website. So you can refer back to your academic plan at any time. And we also know that there's reasons why your academic plan may need to be changed, such as a DSP reduced course load for family or parental responsibilities, or for work responsibilities. You can make changes to your appeal. So you can submit an updated plan to the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office up to the 5th week of the term. So let's say you submitted an appeal and it's been approved and fall term starts and you realize that you need to take a reduced course load. So you meet with your college college advisor, and you meet with DSP, and you come up with a new academic plan. You can submit that to the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office, and we'll replace it use that instead of your old academic plan. So we'll replace your old academic plan and measure you up, measure your progress based on the new plan. provided that you get it to us within the 5th week of the term. So if you make changes to your appeal after the 5th week of the term, and we won't take any, we won't be able to consider that new academic plan. And if you're not meeting the conditions outlined in the original one you submitted to us, most likely then you would need to submit a new SAP appeal at the end of the term, and we'll go about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. So if you're not meeting the conditions of your appeal, so you're on an approved academic plan, but you're not, or your approved SAP Satisfactory Academic Progress Plan, but you're not meeting the conditions of your appeal, you can still receive aid for upcoming terms. So as you know, as I've said, we're going to monitor your progress at the end of each term to ensure you're meeting the conditions outlined in your academic plan. So for example, if your academic plan says 13 units for fall 2020, then we're going to measure your progress against 13 units for the term. So if you're on an approved appeal and did not meet the units listed on the academic plan, we're not going to be able to, we're going to put your financial aid on hold again, but you can submit an appeal for the upcoming term. So again, the appeal process is the same. You would need to write a detailed statement telling us why you were unable to follow the plan. But the circumstances you outline, they must be separate and different than the circumstances that you listed in past appeals. So for example, again, we measure you at the end of the spring term and you're not making satisfactory academic progress, and so you're going to need to appeal for the upcoming fall. So that would be fall 2020. And the reason why you weren't able to be successful is your work responsibilities really overshadowed your ability to be successful academically. So you cut down on your work. And then so your academic plan for the fall listed 13 units. So at the end of the fall term, after grades are posted, we're going to review your academic progress to see if you're meeting the conditions outlined in your plan. And since your academic appeal said 13, we're expecting you to have attempted and completed 13 units. But when we look at your academic progress, we saw that you took 10 units and not the original 13 units. So your financial aid for the upcoming spring term is going to be put on hold. Now, again, you can appeal for spring term, but it has to be, the reason for your appeal has to be different than your original appeal. So your original appeal, the reason why you weren't successful or was because work responsibilities got in the way. That same work responsibility, you could, your reasons for why you were unable to meet your plan during the fall, and it can't be work responsibilities. So it could be something that, let's say you didn't realize you had a change in medication and it took a while for things to settle out, and so you had to drop a unit, or you had to drop 3 units. You had things happened at home, you got into a car accident, or something other than work responsibility. So again, the reason for the second appeal have to be different than the first appeal. And I do want to also note that there's no appeals for summer financial aid. So if you're not meeting your academic plan for the spring, and we review and you're not meeting the terms in your academic plan and you're enrolled in summer session, we won't be able to provide you aid for summer, and there are no SAP appeals for summer. So that would be a term that you wouldn't receive financial aid for. Okay, so I know I covered a lot with SAP. We are going to go over some frequently asked questions. So I saw some hands being raised. So hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those questions that you have. So I'm going to go into expected family contribution appeals. This is a really important thing, especially now in this new environment that we're in with COVID and unprecedented job loss within the United States and really within the world. Expected family contribution appeals. So there could be a change in your family's situation. that would warrant us to reassess a family's ability to contribute to your education, really, so we can reassess your family's strength. Keep in mind too that the aid application for the upcoming year is based on income from 2018. So it's about 2 years old. So it may not be reflective of your family's true ability to contribute. So an expected family contribution appeal. So as if there's extenuating circumstances and your family has extenuating circumstances, please let us know, because we could reevaluate your eligibility for aid. Things that we generally will consider are loss or reduction of income, which would include loss of employment, reduction of pay if there's been a death in the family, or reduction or loss of child support, divorce or separation. Let's say your parents were married in 2018, or you and your parents were married in 2018, but you're no longer married. That is a reduction in income. That's a resource that is no longer available. One-time only income distributions, high, change of employment, high severance pay that's no longer there, or also overtime work that's no longer being offered, high out-of-pocket medical or dental expenses, K through 12 private school tuition or tax liens, so anything that's draining the family income, and that's reducing the resources available to help contribute to the education. And then costs associated with a natural disaster. So that would be like a hurricane or a fire, or an earthquake, and things happened and there's higher expenses that aren't covered by insurance. We can take those in consideration and reevaluate eligibility for aid. Expected family contribution appeals forms can be found on the Berkeley Financial Aid Forms website, and you can look for them, and they're there right now. We're receiving them today. Things that we can't consider, changes to assets or inability to liquidate assets. So if your parents own a house, or if you own a house and then there's rental property, but the market maybe not be the best time to sell or to liquidate those assets, those are still an asset, and unfortunately we can't take that into consideration. Loss of overtime or bonus. We can take loss of overtime or bonus into consideration if it's documented. If you can document that it's not it's not in flux. So it could mean that it's not temporary, meaning that there was overtime available in 2018 because there was a special project going on, but in 2019 it wasn't available, and you can show the 2019 tax return that the loss of overtime, or that there was a loss of overtime, or that wasn't available anymore, so you can show continuity. But if it's variable, meaning it hasn't been offered in the past 2 months, and you don't know if it's going to be offered again, those are the kind of things that we necessarily can't make adjustments for. Bankruptcy, foreclosures, or collection costs. So really outstanding debt. We can't take those into consideration. Consumer debt, which would be credit cards, high mortgage costs, car loans, car payments, lottery and gambling, winnings or losses. Those are things we can't take into consideration, because again, it's difficult to show that it's not going to be continued. One-time income used for non-essential items, so like a family vacation. So for example, if families pull out money from a retirement fund to go on a big trip to Europe, while we can eliminate one-time only income, the reason why the money was pulled out does factor in. So if it was for a family vacation, and we would not be able to exclude that. Parents, step-parents or biological parents who do not wish to provide support. There are cases where parents maybe have gotten married and the step-parents are choosing not to provide support to a college education for their stepchild. Unfortunately, we can't take that in consideration. What we have to look at is ability and not willingness to contribute. And then a marital separation, where the parents have separated or divorced, but they're still living in the same household. So again, we have to look at the household resources. And so I just threw this in here just so you would have an understanding and know where to go if you wanted to submit an expected family contribution appeal. So this is what it looks like in the Berkeley Financial Aid Forms website. So up at the top, when you log in, you'll see a button that says request. Press that button and you'll have what you'll see right now. What's available is an expected contribution appeal. If you click on the green plus button, it will take you over to this side, where it kind of gives a rundown of what we will consider and what we'll not consider. And then you write in your statement of what you're asking us to consider, and then you can continue on with the appeal. Appeals, expected family contribution appeals, do require documentation. So documentation of the circumstance. We generally require copies of tax returns, 28 tax returns, and then 2019 tax returns if they've been filed. So again, like everything, it requires documentation. But in order for us to consider your appeal, and you can do that all through the Berkeley Financial Aid Forms website. So I'm going to go over some frequently asked questions. These focus primarily on SAP, but we do touch on some other topics as well. So a big question that we get is how long does it take to process verification SAP and EFC appeals? So I will say that summer is our busiest time of year. So again, we receive each year, we have to there are over 6,000 students selected for verification. So it can take around 4 to 6 weeks to process verification and EFC appeals. And we really try to reduce that time for SAP appeals. So because we know that causes a lot of anxiety for students and we want to get that information out. So we shoot for about 2 to 3 weeks on our SAP appeals. Every year, our main goal is to make sure students have aid by the start of the fall term. But again, it's a partnership, and that's why early submission of verification documents or SAP appeal information is critical because of just the volume and what we have to get through in the summer. We want to set reasonable expectations. But again, we really work hard to try to make sure that as many students as possible have aid at the start of the fall term. So the question here is, I was notified that I'm not meeting SAP, however, I'm in summer session, and I expect to be meeting SAP after my grades post. Do I need to submit an appeal? So timing is everything. So we run SAP again after summer grades post. However, the summer grading period, it does end 2 weeks after the last day of summer session. So which means we'll be into the fall term. So what does that mean for you? It means that our last run after summer grades post are going to be after the fall term starts. So if you're waiting for those summer session grades to decide whether or not you should submit a SAP appeal, my advice to you would be just to submit the SAP appeal so you know that your fall aid, everything is set for you, and it eliminates the guesswork, and it also prevents delays. Because if you're not meeting SAP, we're not going to be able to disperse financial aid for you for the fall. And if that's 2 weeks into the fall semester, that's going to delay you getting money to help with your rent, or to help with your books and supplies, and to help with your other living costs, like your basic needs, food. So if you submit a SAP appeal, but then after your summer grades post, you're meeting SAP, will you be held to your academic plan? So if you submit a SAP appeal and it's approved and your summer coursework puts you in good SAP standings, we will not have to monitor your progress after the fall term. So related to this, again, you think you're going to be making SAP after summer grades post, but you're not making SAP now. Should you wait, or should you submit appeal? Again, it just encourage you to submit appeal. We're not going to hold you we're not going to monitor your progress if you're making a SAP after your summer grades post. So So again, just good to have all your ducks in a row. I submitted a SAP appeal and was approved, but I dropped a class after I was certified for DSP. Since I was certified for DSP, I don't have to submit another appeal, do I? And the answer is yes, another appeal will be needed. So we would have approved your appeal based on the academic plan submitted at the time, and will monitor your progress based on what was on the academic plan. So if you don't follow your plan, and then another appeal will be needed, because again, we're basing it on the original academic plan. So being certified for DSP would be a new circumstance, and therefore you could write a statement that would speak to that circumstance if when we measure you against your old academic plan, we see that you're not meeting the units outlined in your plan. So the only caveat to this is if you're still within that 5 week, you're still within the first 5 weeks of the term and you've been certified for DSP and you're on an approved academic plan, you have an opportunity just to submit a new academic plan that is reflective of your reduced course load status. And then we'll replace that with your old academic. We'll replace your old academic plan with your new academic plan. So I have circumstances that have occurred that I'm not comfortable revealing in my appeal in detail, of course. How specific do I need to be about what occurred, and how much documentation do I need to share or reveal? And again, we know that some circumstances are confidential, and we do not need to know the details of medical history or any trauma that may have slowed down your success. The statement could say that you've had a medical condition and or trauma and that you're not able to be successful because of that. Documentation could be a letter of support from Path to Care or verification of medical appointments. We do not need to know the reasons of the appointments. Again, we do not need to go in depth into confidential reasons why you're unable to be successful. We just need to know that, you know, just in general, I wasn't able to be successful and here because of medical reasons or because of trauma, and here's my documentation that can verify. So a lot of information. I do want to let you know that even though we're doing some virtual advising today, we're doing virtual advising Monday through Thursday for the whole month of July. And so to schedule an appointment, you will need to call Cal Student Central so they can schedule the virtual advising appointment. And so their number is right there. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to noon and 1 to 4. So if you have a question that you think that you need to be answered or that you would like to talk to somebody virtually over a Google Hangout, you can call and make an appointment, and we'll have advisors working Monday through Thursday through the month of July. And so that's it. So I saw that some folks had raised their hands. So I'm gonna see here if I can go in and just go down the line to see if I can see who has raised their hands. Now I'm not gonna be able to get through everybody, but okay. So Justin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Justin.
Cool. I hope this is an appropriate question for the space and like the intent of this webinar.
Sure.
But for those in the fall who may be changing their like on-campus housing, which would ultimately affect their financial aid, for those who did have a housing contract that would have been on campus, but change it to off campus because they decide not to move back, will that affect their cost of attendance budget? And if so, do they have to report like their rent, or how does that work?
Yeah, this is a hot topic. So if you had a dorm, if you had anticipated living in the residence halls and you weren't offered a contract, or you're no longer going to be, you're not going to be living in the residence halls for the fall term, we will know that. So we work closely with the housing office, and they let us know who's been offered a contract and who's accepted a housing contract. So if you initially indicated that you're going to be living in the residence halls and then you didn't get a housing contract, or you're not going to you're not going to move forward with the housing contract, then what we'll do is we'll move you to an off-campus cost of attendance budget. The off-campus cost of attendance is lower than on-campus because it costs less to live off-campus than it does to live on-campus. We do still provide you money for living expenses, which would include room and board, or so rent and utilities. And for the 2021 year, the off-campus allowance for rent and utilities is close to $1,200 a month. And so we still provide you financial aid for living off campus. It just means that at the beginning of the semester, if you have more aid than charges, you'll get a larger refund, which then we then budget to help pay for your rent for the fall term. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it totally does. I was following that. I was just wondering because when I hear about like financial aid verification, I was wondering if I'm not living on campus, do I have to verify that I canceled? It sounds like that's not the case.
Right. No, and we get that information from the campus housing office, and so there's no need to verify that you're not living off campus or not living on campus. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. So I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong. So Haib Hassan.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Hi. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I just had a quick question about the whole SAP appeal thing.
Okay.
So I'm taking summer classes this summer. Actually, I'm taking 3 summer classes, and I'm taking one class in session A and ends next on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, I mean.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that grades will be posted like, a couple weeks after that, but before the fall midterm term starts. So my question is that, do I still have to submit a SAP appeal if I'll meet like the GPA requirement and stuff?
Yeah. So summer is a little complicated because summer is one term contained of many sessions within the term, and so the end of the grading period for the entire term is after all of summer grades post. So that's 2 weeks into the fall semester. And so even though your mini session or your session A ends earlier than, let's say, the other sessions, which end on August 14th, those grades won't be actualized for SAP ppurposes until after the end of the entire grading period for the term.
I see.
And so in your case, so your case is the example of, you're going to be making SAP again, but you're waiting for your summer classes. Should you submit an appeal? And in your case, not submitting an appeal could delay your fall financial aid. So if you do submit an appeal and then you, at the end of the grading period, it comes to find out that you are back in good SAP standing, we will not hold you to the academic plan because you're going to be in good SAP standing. And so we won't have to monitor your progress.
Got it. And then I had a quick question. So like judging from your answer, I think it would be better if I submit a SAP appeal just in case, am I getting that correct? Or
Yep, that's right. That's right. I guess I would, in your case, just to ensure that, there's always something can happen, and it just helps with a plan B. And it ensures that your aid is in place at the start of the term, and you'll have money at the start to buy books and supplies and living and whatnot. Okay.
And then I have one last question if I can ask. But I was looking at your webinar, and you're saying that we need to submit like an academic plan from our major advisor. So how would that work?
Yeah, if you're not declared, then you wouldn't. It's one academic plan that would require signatures from your college advisor, your major advisor if you're declared, and your DSP advisor if you are certified or if you are with DSP. But if you don't have a declared major and you don't seek services through DSP, then it would just be your college advisor.
Okay, so because I'm a public health major, so I am declared actually. So should I just get like an academic plan from the major advisor, or?
Yeah, so your academic plan is actually going to be wrapped up in your SAP appeal through the Berkeley Financial Aid Forms website. So you fill out your SAP, you go into the Berkeley Forms website, you'll see your SAP appeal there, and then your academic plan will be present, will be a form that you can download, and then you can, email or send to all of the your major and college advisor.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Leslie Lewis.
Oh, hello?
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. I was wondering, oh, I know this webinar is July 31st, but I was wondering, will it affect since the priority deadline was June 30th for the verification?
Right. Yeah, you can still, so the priority deadline for verification of June 30th just ensures that we have enough processing time in order to make sure that folks have aid for the fall term. You can still, that's the goal, but we're gonna try to get all verifications, or as many as we can. So the priority deadline was really just to get everything in to guarantee that you would have aid for the fall. But we're going to work beyond that, of course, to try to make sure that all students have aid in time for fall. So that means that I would just encourage you, if you haven't submitted your verification yet, I would encourage you to get that in as soon as possible. So so we have more time to be able to process for fall disbursement.
Oh, okay, thank you. And I also had another question. So regarding the schedules, so I submit just schedules for my parents, the ones that are titled schedules. Like I don't have to submit the whole like tax returns, right?
Yeah, so when you submit a tax return, so there are various schedules that could accompany it. So there's schedules 1, 2, and 3, and then there's schedules A, B, C, D, and E. And so we request that you submit all schedules.
Oh, and just sorry, this is the last question. So sorry, I totally forgot the question I was going to ask.
It's okay, Leslie. You can also submit a ticket. It's 2 o'clock, and it's going to be time for folks to do. We're at time, and so I do want to say thank you to everybody who participated in this, or who listened in and who asked questions. I know I couldn't get to all of your questions, so again, you can sign up for virtual advising by calling Cal Student Central. And you can also submit a ticket online through Cal Student Central, and we'll try to get to as many of your questions as possible.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nicole, for providing that very thorough and rich overview for providing clarity. So yes, I'm sure many of you are still very interested in following up with financial aid and also with the Educational Opportunity Program, EOP. And so you will all receive an email that will have the instructions that Nicole shared with following up with financial aid, how to get a hold of them, and also with instructions on how to make an appointment with an EOP counselor like myself. We'd be really happy to help you throughout your academic career with any questions and concerns that you have. The last thing is that we ask that you also fill out the post-webinar survey that you will receive via email. Respondents will be eligible to receive a gift card, so look out for that. And yeah, we're looking forward to connecting with all of you to help you throughout your career at Cal. And so have a good afternoon, everybody, and take good care. This webinar will be posted on the eop.berkeley.edu website in due time. So if you have any, want to follow up and see questions that were answered before, you'll be able to do that. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.